Hey everybody, it's Rox Hunter back here with you for another guitar lesson. This time we're going to talk about open string guitar chords and how to expand your reach and your chord vocabulary on the guitar. So to take you from just playing in this space to playing all over the guitar. And playing some really cool, unique, and interesting sounding chords. And very pretty sounding chords. And also very dissonant, weird sounding chords. So as always with this lesson, your ears are your guide, so whatever sounds good to you, play it. If it doesn't sound good to you, don't play it unless that's the sound you want. A couple disclaimers. I'm sorry for the lag in the video. I know that when I talk, my lips don't move for like a second after. I don't know how to fix that. And also, again, sorry my shirt is open. I'm not trying to be Rico Suave. It's just really, really hot in here. Nothing in the Yukon has air conditioning except for my car. And I don't think you'd want to see a lesson from my car. Alright, so let's talk about what an open string chord is. So any open string chord is any chord that has an open string in it. It's very basic. So if we took a D major chord, we're hitting that open D string, the 4th string. If we took an E major chord, we're playing a bunch of open strings. So that's an open string chord, right? C major chord, we've got that, A minor, and so on. Now I'm assuming for this lesson that you know your basic chord shapes, like G and C and D and E minor, A minor, maybe A major, just all of the chords that you kind of first learn on the guitar, right? Now what we're going to go over is how to take these chord shapes and we're going to slide them up the guitar. Because if you watch people playing guitar, a lot of times they'll play chords here, like a G chord, or a D chord or whatever. Or they might be playing a bar chord, which is when you lay your finger across, many of the strings or all of the strings. And bar chords are good in a way, but when you start playing in bands and stuff, or with other musicians, they take up a lot of space, and they have a really kind of blah sound. So I like to kind of stay away from them. They have a purpose and stuff, but you can use these other chord shapes, these basic first chords that you learn, and you can slide them up the guitar and you can come up with some really cool sounds. So we're going to use the key. We're going to use the D chord, for example. And what we have to look at is these 3 fingers that are on the guitar, and they're pressing in and they're playing notes. And so we want to see what notes they're playing. So for any chord that we do that has an open string in it that we're looking at, we're going to be really concerned with the fingers that are pressing in and what notes they're playing. And what we want to do is we want to find the note that matches the name of the chord. So if I'm hitting an E major chord, I want to find one of those 3 notes that I'm pressing in that is called E. If I was playing an A minor chord, I'd want to find one of those fingers pushing in that's on the note A, and so on. So it's really beneficial that you know your notes on your guitar strings. Very, very, very important. It takes a while to learn them, but you just sit there and go through them. If you don't know that, have a sheet close by from a book or from the internet that shows you the names of all the notes on the guitar. Barring that, I've got a lesson on roxhunter.com. If you go to, I believe it's on the blog page, and it's called Scales and Keys, and you can look it up, and it talks about that. And at the very end of the lesson, there's a diagram, and it's got all the notes on it. So anyway, back to, we're going to use D major for example here, and what we're going to do is we're just going to take this shape, we're just going to slide it up the guitar, right? And we're going to find chords that we like the sound of, or that we don't like the sound of. So what we have to do is look at those 3 notes we're pushing in and go, which one of those is D, because we're playing a D chord. So this note on the 2nd string on the 3rd fret, that one there, that's called D. So that's going to be our root note. So that's the important note, because when we slide this shape up, we're going to have to look at what note that finger is on, and that's going to tell us the name, roughly, of our new chord. So if we slide over 1 fret, going up the guitar, so kind of this way, we've got 3rd fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret. That's where your fingers are. And we're going to hit that open D string. Now this note doesn't sound very good to me. Maybe if you're writing a jingle for a headache commercial or something, that might be a good chord. I don't know. It's giving me a headache, so let's move on. So we're going to slide over 1 more fret. So we're going to go, so our fingers are on the 4th fret, 5th fret, and 4th fret. we have this. Now if we look at this finger here, if you're following me so far. If not, just rewind the video. This note is on the 5th fret, our root note. So now if we look at the name of that note, it's E. So you can think of this chord as an E chord. Anytime you're playing a song you need a E major chord, you can play this chord. Now technically the name, it's not an E major chord. It's got kind of a weird name to it. But the idea is to think of it like that, as a substitution, and it sounds really cool. So if you're playing a song and someone says, you know, we need an E major chord, you can do that, or you can do that chord. So it's gonna work. It's a little bit of a different sound, but it sounds really cool. Now, for those of you who know your music theory and who are Satriani fans, if you go from this chord, this E chord that we're doing, this pseudo E chord, back to D, it sounds kind of like a very famous Satriani song. Right? So it's got a very modal sound to it. So it's a cool example of a neat way to play some neat sounding chords. That one especially is very cool. So it's got kind of a Lydian sound to it. Anyway, moving on. If we slide over one more fret, so our fingers are on the 5th fret, so we go 5, 6, 5, and we hit that open D string, you get kind of a neat sounding chord. It's different. And our root note now is on F. So you can think of that as an F chord. I've played songs for people where I've been playing, like, I'm the only guitar player, and we'd be playing a song like, say, A minor, C, and F. So you know, it kind of works, right? If you go up over one more fret, you get this really headachy chord. But if you ever want to throw in a really weird F sharp chord, you can do that. If you go over one more fret, so you're going 7, 8, 7, you get a G chord. So the idea is to have a sheet next to you, like a diagram box of, like, for writing in chords, and you write these down, and write the ones you like down, and write the name of it. So whenever you go 7, 8, 7, and you hit that D string, you've got a nice G chord. There's that F chord, the E chord, the D. So you can grab these chords, instead of playing, like, you know, a G chord here, you can sit up here and, like, right? And now if you go up 2 more frets, so you're going 9, 10, 9, you get a nice sounding kind of A-ish chord. And then you go up 2 more frets, so 11, 12, 11, you get a B chord. Ish. And then you get a C chord. So the idea is to go up and define the chords that you like the sound of and write them down. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, go back through it again. Now if we take an A minor chord, just a basic A minor chord, we look at those 3 notes that we're playing with our fingers, and we go, which one of those is A? Well, A happens to be, again, with our 3rd finger on the G string on the 2nd fret. So that's going to be our root note. So all we're going to do is slide the shape up until we find a sound that we like. And then we just look at the name of the note where that finger is, right? So if I start here, and I go over 1 fret, that one doesn't sound too good to me. You go up 1 more fret, you get, this note is now on a B. So we get kind of a B minor chord. And again, I know these chord names, if you were to actually look them up, they might have really long names, really complex names, but the idea is just to think of them in terms of how they can be used as a substitution chord. So instead of playing an actual B minor chord, you know, or a B minor chord here, you can do this. Right, you do stuff like that. Another one that sounds really good, and you can, again, go up fret by fret till you find one that you like. And when you do, write it down, and then write the name of it. And then practice using it in a song that has, you know, just basic chords, and then go, okay, I need a B minor chord. If you go so your fingers are in this A minor shape, and you slide it up so that you're going on the 7th fret and the 6th fret, and again, hitting the A string and the E string as well, you get a cool D minor chord, and then an E minor chord. So you get all these neat sounding chords. You can do that with E as well. You slide over 1 fret, you get this, E major. got a very Latin-y sound, you know. Yeah. And then if you go over, so you're on the 5th and 4th fret, and you got all these chords. And the idea is to play around with them, pick them, strum them, find different ways of playing the note. Let it ring out, you know, strum it hard, strum it fast, use your fingers, and find the sounds you like. So you got this one, which is, you know, kind of like an F chord. This one would be an F sharp. Which to me sounds very Steve Vai-ish, which is very cool. Maybe not to you, but to me. Go over one more fret. You get kind of a G major chord. One more fret, you get a G sharp. And again, to me, that doesn't sound very good, but maybe that's the sound you want in a song. If you go so that your fingers are on the 7th fret and the 6th fret, you get a nice sounding A chord. You go 2 more frets over a B chord. So this is used by a lot of bands nowadays. Will use stuff like this. And having those open strings that keep going throughout the chord, give all the chords a nice flow. So they kind of, you know, when you switch between the chord, it has a very ethereal sound to it, and I don't know, it just really seems to flow nicely, and there's not a lot of, you know, dramatic changes, right? So it's, you know, going from here to here is very pleasant. So sometimes when you're playing a song, you might want that, and then other times you might just want to stick to, you know, actually just changing with these chords, right? And get a little bit more of a switch, right? So it all depends on the sound and the effect that you want. But it's a neat idea, and you can do that with a lot of chords. You can do that, you know, any chord that you do here that has an open string, just try it out. Try sliding it over one fret and see what it sounds like. And the whole idea is just find ones that you like the sound of, and then using that little bit of theory that we went over about, you know, which one of those fingers has the same name as the chord, then you know kind of how you can use that. Because it's a good idea to know, okay, this sounds nice. But then to actually know, you know, what you can use it as, you know, if you're on the 7th fret and the 8th fret there, going 7, 8, 7, then you know, okay, I can use that as a G chord. So that's why it's good to know theory sometimes. The first thing should always be your ears, right? But then it's good to know with the theory, you know, just how it all works and how it all comes together, so that you can use it if you're ever playing and you go, I want that cool G chord sound, right? And you've probably seen people playing acoustic guitar or even electric guitar and doing chords up here, you know. Now what you can also do with these chords is anytime you're playing a chord, and I'll post a lesson on this in a bit if you don't know what these are, but if you do sus chords, like in D, you'll see people doing this. Whenever you slide this D chord shape up, you can always do that. Or like an E chord, right? A minor. So you can do that, and you come up with some really neat sounding things. And it's really neat just to play around, but even by yourself, right? You can come up with these things. But it's nice to kind of know, you know, roughly what you're playing, you know, so it's kind of an A minor chord, kind of a B minor chord, and so it gives some direction to the other people in the band so they kind of know what you're doing, rather than you just going, well, I'm playing this and it sounds cool. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's nice to kind of know why, and then to know, you know, when you can use it. So if you're playing a song, you go, I know I can do this, bam, and you do it. So anyway, I hope that opens up some ideas for you, and you can go as far as your guitar will let you. You know, if you're playing an E chord, you can go up really high, which to me is starting of a cool Zeppelin tune. But anyway, yeah, hopefully that helps you out, and I will see you guys soon. Take care.